And we just dropped for some reason, 7 or 8 minutes in. That is weird. Huh. Well then, that's fun. What is going on there? Yeah, that dropped approximately 12 minutes in. Well, that's not good. Okay, well then. Weird. Hopefully that will not happen again. Oh yeah, I should probably put that in there. Excellent. So if you're just joining, which looks like there's somebody who is, we just got dropped after 12 minutes. So anyway, what I'm doing is working my way down through some of the stuff that I started on yesterday, more or less. I think I'm going to kind of possibly... No, I think I'm going to leave that alone. One of the other things I added was Hearth Magic, which is basically what the Society uses. It kind of mixes a bit of healing, mild enchantment, knowledge, protection. Can come through different practices from either architecture / interior design, cooking, brewing, touch, words, all sorts of different things. There's rumors that it's possible with enough time in one place to bring it into a certain amount of life or sapience. They don't create magical items as such, but they can sometimes be entrusted or are often entrusted with keeping particular items safe, hidden, or protected because it's difficult to get in and out of one of their places. I think I am going to get rid of nature magic because I don't think... Or... I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep the nature magic or not. I might change it to... yeah, I think that would work. I think I might change nature magic around. I'm not particularly... It was initially intended as sort of a hybrid between what would be, say, D&D druidic magic and some forms of witchcraft type things, where I may have been drawing a little bit of inspiration from some recent TV and such, but I think I'm going to change it around. I think I'm going to make it into something different, but I'm going to think about that for a little bit. What else do we have here? I'm just going to change that from that big one to Folka alone. And then I added some stuff about some flora fauna. So I'm going to have dragonlings, dragonettes, which are going to be smaller things, greater dragons, which are going to be generally believed to be extinct or largely considered so. Different types of native creatures, a few other things. Some notes about foreign fauna and flora, which could technically come from anywhere except the god homes. Those are not going to be, because there are no deities, no gods in the world. There's not going to be really any contact with the god home part of the or God's home part of the multiverse that that the world's connected to. For whatever reason, they will not be. There will be something blocking the connection between those two realms, that realm and this world. A little bit about the professional adventurers, a little bit about dungeon-like spaces, a little bit about where the guild center is located. So we have basically Dreamport, which is going to be the center of the academy. We've got Shermond, which is going to be the, or Charmond, which is going to be the center of the Great Library, where the Great Library itself is located. And we've got Fairmore, which is where the, which is probably going to be some kind of quasi, it's going to be somewhat fortified area, probably because it is the home of, or the place where the guild's leadership is installed, as well as the guild training facility is located. So that's going to be, it's hidden, but it's going to be kind of, I deliberately wanted to go with a name that was going to be a little more, that was going to not sound right for it. I didn't want to go with, like, you know, Shadow Veil or Shadow whatever or something like that, that we would kind of immediately associate with that kind of profession, but I wanted to do something that was going to be kind of contradictory to it, or to its feel. So that's together there. Yeah. I gotta decide if I'm gonna rename Book Magic or if I'm gonna rename Nature Magic. Probably rename Nature, at least, to like Hedge Magic or something like that. Have some Hedge Wizards or Hedge Mages. Yeah, actually, go back down there. Come on. Really? Okay. Oh, it's because I did it there. All right, no problem. Now will you do it? Haha. Now you'll do it. Okay, cool. Working off a regular word and working off of online word do two weird things. Okay, cool. Good to know. That would work. If I do that route, that would be good. I like that. Might do that and play with that and see what happens. So a few big things that I'm going to look at. I want to think about the transportation. I decided this was going to be an island. It's going to be a very big island. I took this name from from a game I kind of ran on a place called, oh geez, where was that? I don't remember what it was called. It's been that long. Probably it was, that was probably from either Play by Web. Was that where that was? No. Well, maybe. I'll say it was either Play by Web or it was RPOL, Role Play Online. I don't remember which it was. Probably Play by Web in that case. I'm not seeing it on here. So somewhere in there, it was a long time ago, like 20 some odd years ago. Very outdated now. Maybe it was WebRPG? No, it's not WebRPG. That was like even longer ago. But anyway, The idea was basically there was an island to keep things fairly narrow. There were a bunch of different cities, blah 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 blah. So in this case, I think it's gonna be a fairly big island. I'm not gonna give an exact measurement or anything like that. Same goes for populations. I'm not gonna go for exact like there are 300,000 people in this city and 543,000 in this city and whatever. I'm not gonna bother with that in this case. I don't really see any need for that or advantage to doing that in this situation. But I have been thinking about transportation around the island. So obviously we've got some basics. You've got people walk, the oldest form of transportation, riding animals, certainly feasibility, especially given that we do have the option for some flying animals. Because I am throwing in, where'd they go? I am throwing in griffins, and I didn't put those in. Huh. Griffins and hippogriffs and winged horses and wyverns wyverns, whatever you prefer, and peritons, which are basically carnivorous winged deer, essentially. So I got those thrown in. So those could certainly be flying animals. Could certainly be an option. Land animals are certainly an option. We got horses, of course. We've got mules, of course. We can throw in potentially unicorns. I don't know if there's anything else in here that would really fit for that. I do have dire beasts, so maybe some massively enlarged animal of some sort. Could be an option too. I have drakes in here. I don't know what exactly I'm going to do with them. So we'll see what happens with that. Dragonlings and dragonets depends on how big they are. Potentially. So at the base for transportation, we have foot, mounted, land, mounted, air. We have boats for rivers and such. We have ships for coast. We could put in canals. Canals are going to be boats as well. Boats, barges, whatever. So those are a good base. I do kind of want to add, because just for reasons, because I kind of like them in some ways, I do kind of want to add trains or airships, or both, but I need to figure out how that's going to work. Given that, in either case, so in the case of airships, magic has to be involved somehow. Or we have gas bag airships. I don't really want to go the gas bag route because I'm not really into that kind of aesthetic, as it were. Likewise, trains, I don't necessarily want to have like coal-burning, fire-based trains. I don't think, we could potentially, the summoners are already in control of education in general. I don't necessarily want them to be also in control of the airships or the trains, the transportation, which they could be, because we could have summoned, fire elementals or whatnot, causing boiling water to run steam engines. That's perfectly feasible. We could also have air elemental based airships. Totally feasible. Likewise, I don't necessarily want the Great Library involved, because we could have sigil/rune based flight for airships, or sigil/rune based flight for not flight, but transportation for trains. I don't necessarily want those to be, in charge of things more than they already are. I think what they have is probably enough. So I don't necessarily think that there needs to be, I don't even need that light at all, to be anything else that they are in charge of as such. So that's probably out. The guild's magic would not be involved in any, really? The order's magic, no, you're not going to fly things with T. Although, actually, you could, well, no, I'm not going to do that. There could be potential for flying things by T. Using T to power trains and to power airships, but I'm not going to go that direction. I'm not going to go that route. Nope. Hearth, the innkeeper's stuff that's not really going to work. If I switch the nature magic to hedge magic, that's going to be a little different, but I really want that one, if it exists, to be more of a sort of hidden sort of thing, or not really hidden, but to be more of a rural slash wilds, sort of thing, rather than a harnessed to industry sort of thing, as it were. So I don't think that's going to be an option either. So I think, and summoning was already brought up yet, already covered that one. So I don't think I want to bring those into duets, which means I'm not really sure what exactly to do with that in some respects. What other things do I bring in here? Gear. That'll do for now. Okay. Yeah. So my first thought then, to get away from there, is that there's some kind of maybe mineral that could be used. That might be some sort of mineral that's sort of infused with arcane energy of some sort. Maybe something that can at least temporarily, that's what I'm looking for. At least temporarily suspend gravity, or something along those lines, or at least could do so to a certain amount depending on quantity versus weight. Some kind of working that out, figuring that out. I'm not sure how that's going to work yet, if that's going to work. That's something that's still going to be toyed around with, played with a bit, I think. So I got to continue thinking about that one. As far as the order, multiple order houses per city, depends on the population, how many are there. So if there's only a few, small population, might only be one or two. I think with those, how that's going to work is the houses, any tea houses will be independent of each other, but in contact and in contact consultation as needed, usually rare. What else with those? How close should they be? I think there should definitely be a max range or a minimum distance between them. I'm not sure that distance should be at the moment. I'm not sure if it should be. I think we go with probably a city block radius is probably a particular number of city blocks for radius is probably good in that regard. The question is how many blocks is the best way to do it. So I'm thinking maybe we should only have one within a distance people would reasonably go for there. Maybe 4 block radius or thereabouts. Yeah, that might work. Okay, I think maybe a 4 block radius for larger cities, and maybe a 2 or 3 block radius for large towns, and then anything smaller than a large town might only have 1 or 2. That seems reasonable to me as far as this goes. I think the same will probably go. I think I'm going to use basically the same for the inns, because that also kind of makes sense there. So I'm just going to copy paste that over there, change house to inn. I think that's probably a good radius, a good ratio for it. That was not oversaturation, but there's also room for multiple possibilities. I like that idea. What was I going to do here? I was thinking about doing something in book magic, but I can't think of what it was now. Oh yeah, I was thinking about possibly making it where they had to read the thing, but had to actually read the spell, but I also want them to be able to do some little things. Maybe, because that would get to scroll / spellbook. I kind of like that idea for this one because it's going to fit the feel. Okay, I think okay, I think what I'm going to do is say most spells require the caster to read the spell as part of the casting, whether that's from a scroll or a book. So this means every practitioner keeps their own personal spell book of all the spells they've learned or found. The most minor of spells, say cantrips, are exceptions to this requirement. Most of which only need a tiny gesture or thought of a sigil / word to cast. So basically, if you want to open the door without touching it, or you want to heat up your cup of tea or coffee in the morning without that's gone cold. That's going to be a cantrip thing. That's going to be like a gesture, or the thought of a word or sigil is going to do it. But anything that's going to do anything significant, whether that be putting a protective spell on a door, or I don't know, or finding somebody or something, that's going to require actually reading the spell from the book. Fortunately, everything that's going to be written in the book will be permanent. It will not be like, you read it and it disappears sort of thing. Not going to do the D&D thing in that regard, as far as you can use a spell once and it's gone from your memory thing that used to happen. Or that's the old school pre-5th ed D&D. or pre, I don't remember if they kept that in like 3.5 or not, but I'm not going to do that stuff. Scroll maybe, I think I'm going to leave scrolls as one shot, but have books as permanent. That'll work. I like that. I can work with that. Cool. That was the thing I was going to modify there. So this nature magic thing. I think I am going to... Yeah, I think I'm going to change it around. I think I'm going to change it over to there. Let's see, we're going to make this hedge. So it's going to be considered kind of a low-level magic, barely worth calling magic as far as other arcanists are concerned. Very little written down. This is going to work more often on a intuitive basis. Basically, where so hedge magic, I think, is work more on an intuitive basis, where it's more the components that come into play for a spell are going to be more whatever feels right at the moment. So it's not going to be, no two spells are going to be the same, or no single spell is going to use the same components, the same process twice, because it's going to change based on what feels right for the given moment, and what words feel right, what actions feel right, what ingredients feel right for a given moment. So that could mean that the same person is going to cast, something basic, detect magic, multiple times. Each time it's going to be a little bit different depending on the situation and who they are at that point in time, and all sorts of other things. Essentially, they're not going to be a kind of organized style. However, I think they will kind of break down into 5 specialties. I think I'm gonna go with. So the big 5 specialties will be weather, healing, fertility, divining, and protection. which will be all of your basic stuff. And these can be so we'll mix a bit of healing, plant, weather, animal, and knowledge type effects, essentially. I like that. That is a good thing. There we go. Cool. That's better. HEA, HERD, awesome. So that gives a little better breakdown, I think. I think I'm a little happier with that in terms of how these work. Basically, the 5 institutions, the academy, the library, the guild, the order, and the society, are going to be more focused on your settlements, like your small towns to your large cities. You might get some branches, some individuals in the villages, maybe the hamlets, but not very often. More likely when you're in the hamlet level or the farmstead type level, you're going to be looking more at the hedge mages, if there's anybody doing anything. That also will explain why they're not going to be involved in transportation, because they are the classic, whether they be the classic witch who lives on the edge of the village, or the sort of Radagast, the brown style, they're going to be kind of that outside, that kind of rural area type. Not really looked highly upon by other spellcasters or arcanists. I think that works out nicely. That works out well there. And all of these 5 big ones, the institutions will kind of essentially balance each other socially in some ways, so that they will kind of work together to some degree, but they'll also kind of balance each other to some degree. So it's going to be kind of a mix of a couple different things going on in terms of and then you get the mundane, non-magic related, non-arcane related powers that be in, say, government structures and this sort of thing, who will probably play along with things because as means of so that the government entities of basically the city leadership and whatnot basically see the institutions as a means of controlling, or accept the institutions as a means of kind of controlling and limiting the spread and use of magic, particularly at least the ones that they are familiar with, which are going to be the academy and the library and the guild. They're probably, I think, the orders blending and the inns, the society's hearth, are going to kind of fly under the radar, as it were. They don't generally get clocked by the powers that be, because they're too subtle in many respects, and they're kind of, in the case of the society at least, they're kind of limited in their scope in terms of their power only works within the inn itself. It may, all right, bye Chloe. It may also have some lasting effect on people in certain cases. I mean, obviously healing, some of the mild enchantment could carry over, but for the most part it's going to be limited to the walls of the inn and what can be done there. Hey, princess. Come here, princess. Off. You gonna say hi? Oh, there we go. There's the pretty kitty. You want to have lap? No? Maybe? You're not sure? This is the cat that the shelter told us was a really great lap cat. And as soon as she got home, as soon as she got a forever home, it was nope. I knew what I had to do to get out of that place, and I'm not going to do that ever again. Plus, usually, anymore when she is on my lap, she gets her ears cleaned, which is not her favorite thing. Because she is not a big lap person, or lap cat. She's a very big scratching cat, though. So, anyway, back to this. I think I'm happy with those kind of brief breakdowns. I don't need to go into massive detail there. Having just enough to get an idea of what's going on is good. I think the big areas are going to be up here where I want to get in, let's see, geography. Okay, cool. That's good. There we go. Cool. Let's see, that one we're going to drag back over there. We're going to drag this back over here. No. There we go. Cool. Don't need that anymore. Do want to make that into my headings. Awesome. I love the use of headings, or the ability to do headings in Word, because that translates nicely to a table of contents. I love having a table of contents in all of my documents, particularly, or all of my personal documents, particularly my world building documents, because then I can find things fast, which is really nice. And that's just really a wonderful thing. So, what else? I don't need that. I do need that. Stick that there. Okay. Don't need that. We already know what their relations are. We already really know what their reputation is. Don't need that part. Although, that is a good question. Given the control that the library and the academy have, but also given that not all libraries are part of the Great Library, does the guild's home facility have access to an academy instructor / admin and or a librarian? That's a good question. On one hand, I think the answer is probably going to be no, but on the other hand, I think that presents some interesting interaction and other issues. So that could be a possibility. I don't know if I want to go to that level of, I don't necessarily want to say that level of complication, but that level of interwovenness, if you will. I haven't quite decided on that. So just thought of it. I think probably not. Yeah, okay, that'll work. Oh yeah. Those will be up in there, so I don't really need that there. That's probably the big stuff for that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, cool. Happy with that. Let's see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. 1, 1, 2. Actually, get rid of that. And 1. Awesome. Cool. So that gets that set up. This is looking good. I like this. 20, actually, it's added about 200 words so far, just from the stream time. I'm very happy with that. So let's see. What else comes into play here? Yeah, I can break this down. Why not? We'll just break that down. Actually, let's just make this nice and simple. Let's put reputation and demographics up here in reverse order. I think we want demographics first and then reputation. That would be a better move. And then I think institution locations will go under generic locations. That'll work. With other cities, should be obvious, but we'll put that note in there anyway, because I can't guarantee that in another couple days I will remember what that means. So we'll keep all of that together. Yes, heading to reputation will be heading to, politics will be to, laws and enforcement, culture, individual city cultures, yes, locations, institution locales will be 3, history will be 2, people will be 2, and relations will be 2. Excellent. Get rid of that. Take this thing, why reinvent the wheel and retype when I can just copy paste. Yay. And be lazy. Okay, cool. That gets me all of that stuff. We're going to update the table of contents, which is relatively big. Awesome. 2,200 words. Not bad. Yeah, basically what I've been working with so far for the last hour or so is a setting I kind of started with, inspired by somebody mentioning they were doing a game with a fantasy great library. And I kind of ran with it in different directions, or a very different direction, and currently about 2,200 words of build, which is looking nice. I do need to go down there and put those into place. So let's do that. Politics, laws enforcement, culture, locations, history, people, past and present. And we'll put another line down there. We'll take out the demographics bit because what the heck just happened there? I don't know. Take that. Pick it up. There we go. Control and awesome. And I'll put demographics up there because I like having that up there instead. In this case, that's going to be purely lineages for demographics because we're not going to have institutions anywhere in that place. Or it's all one institution, really. Yeah, cool. Okay, so this is looking good. I'm liking the basic setup. We're at 2,200 words. Hello to whoever joined. If you'd like to say hi in the chat, I am monitoring that as I go. If there's anything you'd like to say, anything to talk about, whatever, ask about, bring up, whatever, I'm happy to talk about random stuff. But you may not actually be there. I may just be talking to myself. Okay, that's fine. That's all good. Don't mind that. Used to that. So why is that? Why am I hitting that and things aren't updating? Okay, I don't know. Oh well, we'll just go through and there we go. That manually changed. Awesome. Kind of. Not entirely happy about that, but it did work in the end, so that's what really matters. Okay, cool. Even if it didn't get there necessarily the right way. Okay, perfect. Good, good, good. It's looking nice. Entire table. There we go. Cool. 12 pages of stuff so far. And there's a lot to fill in, a lot to work with there. But that's okay. We'll do that. Not a whole lot else going on with that. Aside from a lot of blank space I need to think about, work with, fill in, and play with. Which is just fine. That's what this whole thing is about on so many levels. We're going to put a little space there. Move that there. That evens that all up. Nice. Cool, cool, cool. I like that. Okay. So this is looking good. I'm pretty happy with it so far. We're going to probably work on that more tonight, although I've got a book I'm reading that I want to try to get as close to finishing as I can. So maybe, and there's also Castleton still floating around to finish up. I've got another like hour of that left from the most recent episodes. So, so yeah. That said, if you want to, I highly recommend checking out Castleton. If anybody's paying attention in here or looking at this, I will put a link maybe into the chat here. Let's see, that would be, it's easier just to go copy paste it, isn't it? Yes, it is. Once I track down, why did they not put these in a... There we go. Why this does not put things in a, Twitch does not put things in a clear and obvious order, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Oh well. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link over here to Winter's Tales if anybody is watching this at any point in time and not catching the Castleton with run by AJ Winters and company. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. I don't know how much of season 1 is still floating around out there, but it is moving over to YouTube bit by bit, and some of it is already on YouTube. Some is moving over there bit by bit. Highly recommend it. It's wonderful. 120 player D&D game, mixing a fair bit of Bridgerton with a fair bit of Hunger Games. And it's absolutely phenomenal. If you get it, if you're not following it, you're not checking it out, do so. Highly recommend it. Let's see, what else am I going to do here for the next maybe half hour or so? That's a good question. Let's see what we got anywhere here. If there's anything else I want to bring up, make use of. I don't know. Just poking around, seeing what's going on. Okay. So I think as I poke around and look here, why don't we poke? I gotta move these things, copy paste some of this stuff and move them around to where they are useful and helpful for me. No, don't. Damn it. Undo. That's why I don't do auto update. Okay, that's why I don't do that on there. That makes sense. Yeah, go. Okay, cool. Thinking about toss around this idea of the airships, the trains for a little bit. Figured that out. Since I don't want it to be rune-based, sigil-based, because that gives control of them basically to the library. I don't want it to be elemental-based, because that gives control of it to the academy. No one else has the right setup for it. But I don't want to create another institution as such. But I would like to have them present. How can I go about doing that? No, there's the harnessing flying animals bit. That could work. Not my favorite, but it could work. I think I can do better than that. What if we threw out... I like the idea of a mineral of some sort, or an ore of some sort that would have some kind of hovering or levitation-like or repulsing effect. The question then becomes, how do we convert that ore into something that would work for a vehicle, particularly for two kinds of vehicles? Because on the one hand, I would want for train type vehicles, I would want it to be maybe a few inches off the ground, a couple inches off the ground. But for airships, obviously we want more height. And we want the ability to change height, have a vertical as well as horizontal motion. So, if it was something roughly akin to, say, iron or copper, that would be dug out of the ground and would maybe have certain properties or might have no properties beyond showing up as arcane. But then working it led to it having certain arcane properties. That could work. I don't want to bring in a fifth or another institution, but certainly this process of smithing, this process of smelting the ore could have some sort of effect of bringing something out of it. Maybe it's... Oh. Maybe it's an alloy of some sort. maybe it's a matter of mixing two minerals together in a particular way, possibly in a particular ratio that creates the effect. Could that work? Probably. I'm gonna think about that one a little bit. I'm kind of liking the idea, possibly, of doing that, where you have maybe it is a. I like this. I'm gonna put this down as a. By some kind of alloy of otherwise I like that. Gives the resulting metal so then if that is the case, then we get what creates the straight or the horizontal motion. So if I can get vertical motion, vertical direction from an alloy, something that becomes effectively an arcane alloy, then, which could be laid in rails, probably single rail, and could also be under the carriages themselves, so they kind of float a little bit above. If I can do that with this alloy, how do I get propulsion in place? For airships, that would be easy, because we can have propulsion for airships through sails or whatnot, especially if the airships are not gas bag type, but are more like, we had this ship we used on the ocean, on the sea, and then we put this layer of this alloy at the bottom of it, on the bottom, in the bottom, and it floated in the air, and our sails picked up wind there and moved. End of discussion, or end of story. So that's fine. And being airships, they could have sails on multiple faces. They wouldn't be limited to just having sails on top. They could have sails on the sides. They could have sails underneath that could unfold. That could work as well. I like that as a possibility. So, I like that. So what makes the train move then? We could have sails in the train, but that's going to be somewhat limited in terms of how quickly they can go and directional and when they can and cannot be used. So that's probably not going to be such a good option in that case. Maybe that probably wouldn't work. I don't know. Some way to get the horizontal motion. I'll have to potentially think about that a bit. Figure that out. I think The airship bit would be fairly easy. We get some kind of alloy that comes out of these two ores. When they come together, when they're put together or smelted together, they create this metal that has sort of counter-gravity properties, allows things to allows that it itself levitates, and things that it's attached to levitate. So we can put it underneath, or we can make rails out of it, and then carriages put above it will start kind of floating. We can put underneath the carriage, and it will start floating against each other. We can put it in the wings of planes, and they will start kind of floating by themselves. And we can use other stuff, or the wings, the hull of a ship. It'll start floating the ship, and then sails can be deployed to make the ship move, that sort of thing. I like that. I'm just going to figure out how to make the trains move. We could have an animal in front, but animals get tired. We could throw a construct up front, but that brings the academy and the library back into things, which I don't want to do. Part of the whole purpose of this exercise in the first place is to keep them out of things. So, what do I bring in? That's a good question. I think horizontal motion for the train side of things, it could be produced through some kind of repulsion effect, maybe through some kind of we would effectively have no friction if there is a repulsion between the bottom of the carriage, and this would be kind of equivalent to like a maglev train for all intents and purposes, which basically means you have no friction between the rail and the train itself, as long as nothing's come over the sides to touch it. I don't know. I don't know what makes the trains move. I know how, I got an idea of how they can levitate. Maybe there's some kind of, because looking up animals is just not really going to be sails. maybe not. That's a backup plan if I can't figure out something better. I don't know. I may have to play around with it for a bit and just kind of see what happens. Let that percolate while I do dishes or stuff, just to see where things go, how things work. I'm not sure. We'll have to play with that one later. But that has added about 300 words since the stream started, which is not bad for playing around with things and talking my way through them. Speaking of, that's something I do highly recommend for purposes of writing in general. There are lots of tools, techniques that we highly recommend, both in classroom and in the writing center situations. One of the big ones is reading everything out loud to make sure that everything makes sense and is connected to each other and grammatically correct and all of that fun stuff. But another one is to basically, as far as ideas go, getting ideas, generating ideas, developing ideas, that sort of thing, is generally just talking to people, talking to somebody, even if it's talking to yourself, as in this case where I'm effectively talking to myself. But bouncing ideas off of other people can be really, really helpful in terms of generating ideas and developing ideas of various sorts. There are people, myself, that bounce things off of, who bounce things off of me. We do this on a regular basis or irregular basis, depending on what we're working on. So it's a pretty common practice. It's not, anything too unusual. It's a good thing to do. It can be very helpful for getting ideas out there, for generating ideas, for playing around with ideas and seeing what works. Something I highly recommend, along with, reading out loud for proofreading and all of that stuff. So I think, since I'm kind of at a good pausing point for what I'm working on there. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and sign off here. It's been almost an hour and a half. That's pretty good. So we'll see everybody next week. Next week will be a usual Just Tuesday stream, noon to 2, or noon to 1:30, 2-ish, somewhere in there. Then the week after that, which is Thanksgiving week, I will probably do Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know when exactly. I'll figure out times on that. Probably noon to 2 sounds like a good time, but I might go back to 9:30. We'll see what happens. I'm off basically that most of that week, and I'm on my own for that week, for those 3 days, those 2 days. So we'll see. I can do whatever I want basically in that case. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Hope to see people then. In the meantime, have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever it is where you're at. I'm Brent, an author, amateur world builder, and writing educator. You can find me as werewolf_doctor on Threads, Instagram, Patreon, Ko-Fi, YouTube, as well as here. I don't use the Instagram very much, but it is there. So that is also an option. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and do my usual thing where I'm going to raid over to see, let's see, the Noir Enigma, because why not? Good guy. Good place to go. Once I remember where all of my stuff is again. There we go. We're going to jump over to him again. In 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.